Let me be your leader.
Hi, I'm Peter. This is Emily. She's in China, and we're on the roof still, but things are looking up. Things are looking exciting. They're good for us. They're coming back around. We don't usually try to steer clear of a lot of our the news, the throwaway stuff, the stuff that doesn't matter tomorrow. Our evergreen channel wants to stay fresh and exciting for the rest of eternity, or at least as long as YouTube and the media keeps on going. And here's a deep secret, is that we used to work in the media, and you still kind of do a little bit secretly, not really totally, but like, what does that mean when somebody says, occasionally, because we worked at a New York newspaper, sometimes Emily is contacted by the media still, and to get her expertise as a person who lives in China, with all the experience, as if you read the media today, we might be the last people, the last foreigners in China. If you believe the media, which you shouldn't, because she's right here. It's Emily.
Don't believe me. No, you absolutely should believe me. I have very high ethical standards, and it's not actually a secret. If editors out there, if you want to pay me to write for money, I will. The rule I made, because I kind of got burnt out in working in the newspaper business, and I'm like too precious a flower to pitch and get rejected, which is why I do not have a writing career.
Plus, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard to contact people or have people contact you from on the other side of the world.
That's the thing, is I made a rule that if someone gets in touch with me to write a story, I'll say yes. And so that's what happened.
That's your generous giving back to the world.
Back to the people. I've written 4 pieces in 12 years because I am the Thomas Pynchon of reluctant China-based journalists.
Something to strive for, kids.
Yeah, that's my spot. Don't strive. I'll crumble under any competition. But no, so someone from the Post contacted me because I have some connections with the Post, the New York Post. The New York Post asked me to write about our experience in this lockdown, and it's actually the second time I've done that. I did a small piece for them in 2020 for the original COVID original. And it's an interesting assignment because the Post is somewhat known as a right-leaning newspaper, and I don't know if you probably can tell, I'm somewhat of a left-leaning gal. Which way is left? I don't know my handedness though, so. No, but like my feeling was like, because I am one of the extremely online, and I've tapped into, China Twitter. I'm trying to find China Mastodon. If you guys are out there, leave your Mastodon ID in the comments. Yeah, maybe I'll put mine in the description.
Oh my God, you're working the social media.
Let's reach out on Mastodon, decentralized for the people. I'm getting distracted. But no, so I'm extremely online, and I'm plugged into a world where this is happening to everyone. So I was like, well, my story's not really different or even more severe than anyone else's. I'm in Chongqing. We've had a relatively easy time of it. I don't know, read the article for that. It's accurate.
We'll put it down.
We'll put it down below. Yeah, and there's things like, I wrote a version that was kind of conversational and jokey, but I fully knew it was in their rights as a publication to make me conform to house style. But they left some of the jokes in. I ended with the statement that I have no contingency plan for if the ruling government rolls someone over with a tank, which is like, that's pretty my style. So I feel like even though I got edited, I'm not one of those people who don't trust editing. I don't trust them.
Editors are your friends.
Editors are your friends. And also
they keep it from being boring.
Yeah, I have a vlog that I can just unedit and give you unfiltered Emily access.
24/7.
If I'm gonna publish it in a newspaper, I want someone else to check it over first, And I mean, it's always difficult publishing in the US from China. And I know this from my family. Hi guys. Nobody in America really understands what a 12-hour time difference means. And so it's really always that's always like the hardest part, is tracking people down. And then when you're like on a deadline, if you have a 12-hour turnaround for every question, that's difficult to work with, I would say. Is that interesting? I don't know. That's why I need an editor. So the article is just about like what's your circumstances like? What's the lockdown like? And also specifically, what's been your experience with the protests? I mean, this is where I was glad to have the opportunity to write the article, because it is a frustrating thing to read about the place where I live. I'm sure for our Chinese viewers, it's doubly frustrating to read it about your actual culture. That just kind of like puts it in this box. Like, I think some people think everyone in China's been under lockdown since 2020, which is just not true. It was just a personal account. As I made clear, I mean, she knew, but I wanted to make clear, I'm not a hard news reporter. I never have been, and I don't have any sources. And really, I was terrified of taking this job that it would make me have to call someone on the phone.
But we're not in the streets. We don't have contact with governments. We don't.
Yeah, I have nobody who knows anything. Everybody I know is just a joker like me who is living their life.
You've been locked up just like everybody else.
Yeah.
We've been sitting in an apartment. There's no news other than some of the stuff that we get from WeChat, from the Chinese social media, which is like our friends who are all like comedians mostly.
Yeah,
and
I think
students who are medical students who do have some interesting things.
And that's where I think social media is not totally worthless. I think like social media is good for giving you the gestalt of like, here's a snapshot of one moment in time of what many different people think. Due to the nature of commercial social media, you're pretty siloed, and maybe it just shows you like what people like you think. But it is like you can take temperature that way, I think, you know.
And you get lots of little movies from former kindergarten students of this around room.
So that, I mean, that's one source, and then my other source is my students who, like, my classroom's a semi-public forum, so it's not like they're going to tell me their deepest, darkest secrets. But it has been interesting, like the amount of frustrations they expressed.
Like?
One person out and out said, "We need freedom," but that was
one person.
Yeah, well, that was one person, and that's a dangerous thing to say. Nobody engaged with that.
Just on the opposite of in actual private social, not so private, as the comedian group that you're in. We
Oh yeah, we were on a Zoom comedy show, and someone did express like, we need to talk about the protests
in the after show
as a Q&A, which is still like, it was still inappropriate for a comedy show Q&A, but it was
meant with the same response from people that were much comedians, a lot of them Chinese and international, that all kind of went like, well, we don't really want to.
I mean, like, yeah, maybe we're scared coward weenuses for not engaging, but it is also like, it's really hard to know in terms of protesting and affecting real social change, like what's the move. Because in terms of foreigners getting involved with local protest, that actually can like the thing I've heard is that gives cover to the lie, oh, it's all foreign interference, if there's foreign faces involved. So it is like, I'm a weenus. I'm a coward weenus. Well, but it also is like, I don't know that my speaking out is the right thing to do. Well, and that's the thing, like in my back and forth with my editor, she used the word breaking point, which is the first time I'd heard that phrase. And then Peter, you said you saw that a lot online.
Like what's the breaking point? And then like a couple hours later, I go online and everything is the breaking point, the breaking point, the breaking point.
Which was like kind of shocking in that it,
because the things were letting down by that point.
Yeah,
like, oh no, the story, we lost the story, it's too late.
The protests were unprecedented and kind of exciting, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm part of that I come from a Western democracy, and I was raised in a culture that sees other people protesting for democracy as like an exciting, good thing. But also like in the reality of our apartment, I don't know, I just taught class like usual.
And in our city, in Chongqing.
And I can't leave I can't leave the building.
If you were to leave the building in Chongqing, there's no one here. Our streets are dead. They're just now, a couple days later, starting to like, I can hear a couple beeps out there like, oh boy, there's deliveries happening, and people are coming back onto the streets.
The one point of social contact I've had through all this is my classroom, and this did get cut for space, I think. it's flavor, but it's not facts. But like I really, it's been really interesting to have the feedback from the students to see over the past 2 weeks. Like, I run a fairly free classroom where like my goal is to get them to talk as much as possible. So I give them structures to say things, but the things that they say, they're allowed, if they talk about anything they want, I'm happy in English. But so basically I picked different health news articles, because that really, go figure, that gets doctors to talk when we talk about gross health stuff. So the past 2 weeks I've tried to pick different stories that don't really have anything to do with COVID, in case people don't want that, you know? And because I also don't want that. So we've been talking about RSV.
Which is?
Respiratory syncytial virus. And it's actually, there is a COVID connection, and I'm like trying to pump the brakes on explaining to you what it is.
We'll make another video on that if you're that interested.
If you have kids in America, you probably know what the RSV is.
And if you have Google or YouTube,
yeah,
look it up for another person to tell.
I'm not a doctor, I'm just your English teacher. So a story about RSV and a story about cholera, just to keep things mixed up in the past 2 weeks. All the example sentences they gave me were COVID related. Like, we studied the kind of structure, blah, 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 is at risk of blah, blah, blah. And you could say anything. You could. The example I gave is because she went out partying, or the fact that she went out partying put her at risk of failing the test.
It's because she's a sinner for partying.
She didn't study.
Oh.
Just do the work, man. I'm a teacher. Do the work, and I don't care. Go to as many parties as you want if you do the work. They all made sentences like, not wearing masks puts you at risk of contracting COVID. And like, they're all COVID sentences, COVID and quarantine sentences, which is just like, I mean, maybe it's gallows humor, but to me that's funny. I think people are getting their frustration out by talking that way. Like, no one sounds upset, but they're like, because then they also do, this is so embarrassing, but they do sentences like, not paying attention in Emily's class puts you at risk of not learning English. Like, it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Great, it's great stuff. That's what we're battling here in China.
It's not, that's the thing.
And getting this information to the other side of the world, of this is what we're worried about.
Because it is like, I don't want the story to be, it's all COVID all the time, because that's not true. But it is also, the story is COVID. The story is not my students are cute. But I mean, like I said, they edited the piece, but mostly to keep in line with House style, not to like, I mean, they didn't change what I said. I'm definitely not alleging that. Like, yeah. I wrote that piece and I stand by what I wrote there.
Count. You gotta
there's a word count.
You're used to working at a newspaper.
If you don't want anecdotes about PhD students say the darndest things, I get it. Even though, like, to me, that's what my life's been these past 3 weeks. Here's something I'm learning, is that the air is never going to be clear. Most people are terrible communicators. That's why I do what I do.
That's why we're out there.
It's a mission statement.
On YouTube, on the media. We're just trying to clear the air because no one else can like us.
Yeah. In the meantime, I didn't put any of this in the article because this gets into talking out of my ass territory.
This is the hardcore. This is the reason why you've tuned in.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to the end of the videos always, because the hot juice comes last. That's our motto.
So this is not talking out of my ass. These are some statements put out by...
Not ass notes.
They're not ass notes. These are some announcements put out by the government, which districts are switching risk category from high risk to low risk, or low risk to high risk. But as they said...
But ass notes.
But ass notes. So on November 30th, they put out, in accordance with relevant provisions of the new coronavirus pneumonia prevention and control plan, and notice on further optimizing the prevention and control measures of new coronary pneumonia epidemic prevention and control work in a scientific and accurate way. I don't want to get into the Chinglish there. I just threw it in auto-translate. Ha ha ha, that's funny. What I do want to point out there is optimizing prevention in a scientific and accurate way seems to me a direct response to the dissatisfaction. So everybody on Monday was all crazy in the Western Hemisphere about tipping point, breaking point, blah, 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 I'm not going to finish that word. But I think the reaction has been like, we got to fix this, and not by kicking the ass of protesting students. I mean, I think their asses got kicked. But yeah, and then so in the spirit of General Secretary Xi Jinping's important instructions, adhere to the people-centered approach, deepen the implementation of the 20 optimization measures. I love the Chinese impulse to number everything. I like numbers too.
You're a math head.
Yeah.
Math core.
Continue to improve the scientific nature and precision of prevention and control work. Not relax or overdo it. So to achieve effective management and control. I mean, that's the phrase, scientific and precision, those words keep popping up. Do not implement layer by layer, one size fits all measures. I mean, they're like, you can't just be like, all right, I think they're like, stop doing this, you assholes.
I see.
Because the people are getting upset. And the upset people are dangerous people. Again, ass notes, not in here, that's my ass opinion.
My ass's notes.
Again, scientifically delineate high-risk areas, accurately implement them in buildings and units, achieve quick demarcation and quick release, and dynamic adjustment to prevent one letter. That's a weird translation of something, I'm sure. And long-term blocking. I mean, this is a big reprimand to how things have been happening, which is people sniff some COVID, the property managers close the doors, and people can't go to work. And people have been really angry about that. Obviously.
Yeah.
That's not ass notes. That's true.
Just the news.
That's true. It comes down to, how does this affect me? And you to some extent, but mostly me.
Yeah.
And you in as much as I'd take care of you.
Well, I'll be eating the cabbage too.
You're eating you're making the cabbage.
I'm making.
Actually, you're more important than me. So like our local complex is starting to open back up. Someone has said like probably in a couple days our actual building, we can leave the building. But the word today is Minletsun community is making further adjustments according to the information released by the government and the actual situation of the community. I'll let you know.
Did they say that?
Not in so many
That's
words,
you?
but that's the meaning.
That's your translation?
Yeah, my translation from English to English. From English to no bullshit.
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know. I mean, I did joke about like living through a human rights violation was not, what I thought would happen to me in my life. But also, I never thought I'd be trapped in an elevator, and I was yesterday. That's not COVID related. That
was just elevator fun.
It's just poor building maintenance.
Yeah. If you've made it this far, then please hit that like button, because we're like, apparently, like I'll say it again, the last China vloggers in the world. It's not true. Don't believe the media.
Ass notes.
Ass notes. Hit the like button, comment, and share us out. We just put out the reason why we're here is the movie that we just put out in our last video. I'll put like a little thing here where you can go see that. That's our movie. That's what we do.
Oh yeah, I got stuck on the reason why we're here. But yes. If you're a subscriber to the channel, or if you're curious, go back and watch that video. It's a mockumentary about our local comedy scene here. It's very funny, if I do say so myself.
It's the first of the series. It's going to be at least 5 episodes long
that
we know of that are filmed. Episode
2 will drop sometime.
We're in COVID, so we're working on it.
Yeah.
But
that's the work.
Totally hit the like button on that and share that out, because that's our.
Don't share this. If you can't share this video, go share that video.
Share all of our videos. To all of the media. But most importantly, share that last one.
Yeah.
Because if you care about us at all, this is what you.
If you really loved me, you'd share that video. Is that it?